Welcome to the Roost News, the place for all things volunteer. I am Lillian Lee, co-lead for the Roost News.
And I am Whit Phillips, a Roost News team member. And today we welcome Nena Whitfield and Dorie Ciulla with AARP's Friendly Voice program. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this podcast. Before we begin, Nena, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in the great state of Alabama, and I began volunteering for AARP back in 2013 with my Links chapter. The Links is a national service organization, and back then, and even now, they have they had or have a national partnership with the National Office of AARP. And at the time, I was 49 years old when I joined this chapter, and they immediately put me to work and put me in charge of a national program with that partnership with AARP. So I was just about to turn 50, and I was so excited and was learning so much about AARP at that time. I welcomed my silver journey. And I was just very, very excited to participate with my Links chapter and AARP and that partnership. And so I developed a committee and we decided to focus on technology. And we started a program called the BYOD Tech Cafe. And BYOD stood for Bring Your Own Device. And so we trained literally hundreds of people in our community on how to use their cell phones and how to use their tablets. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful program. We got our state office very, very involved, and it was just a great partnership. And I actually, or my chapter actually won an award for our program that we started. So eventually I did it for about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, I think. And then someone else took over that committee, and then their focus was on something else. But we are greatly known for our partnership and that program with AARP. And so then in 2015, I was selected by my state office, and I'm very appreciative to them for, all the things that they've done for me. But I was selected to participate in the AARP VLI program. VLI stands for Volunteer Leadership Institute, and it's where they get volunteers from all over the country, and they groom those AARP volunteers to become leaders. And that was a wonderful experience as well. And I'm trying to make sure that I tell you everything.
Take your time.
From the VLI program, I then participated with other AARP programs like Life Reimagined, Movies for Grown-Ups, and the Livable Community programs. And so I just absolutely love AARP. In my community, they started calling me the AARP lady. So, and I'm sure you probably get that too, Lillian, and Dorie probably too. And so, I retired as a computer software teacher about 2 years ago and applied for this program coordinator's position. And here we are with Friendly Voice. So this will be my second year, completing my second year, going into my third year with Friendly Voice. And I absolutely love it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dorie.
Yes, I come from
Tell
New
us
York.
a little bit about yourself.
Sure, sorry. Yes, I come from New York. I lived here most of all my life. I was a educator. I taught Spanish for 16 years. And then I became a assistant principal and then principal of an alternative high school. So when I retired 8 years ago, I took a couple of years of just chilling out. And then I said, I need to have a purpose in life because, when we're working, we all have a purpose in life. So I wanted to continue that. And I got this nice letter in the mail about, do you want to become a volunteer for AARP for your town? And I said, wow, this would be great. Let me check it out. So for a year and a half, I was a regular volunteer doing events and so forth. And then my coordinator retired from the position and they offered me the position. And I've been a co-coordinator now for 4.5 years for my town. And what we do as a volunteer for our town is that we do outreach, engagement, and advocacy. And our outreach, we just did last Saturday, we had a food drive for needy veterans, homeless and needy veterans, and we actually collected 499 pounds of food, which we donated to our veterans pantry in town. So that was one thing as far as outreach. We do engagement. We do a lot of health fairs and fairs where we give out, disseminate information, which comes from AARP New York and AARP National. And of course, advocacy. We meet with our local, federal, and state legislators and politicians as we go forward about what our mission is for AARP. So that's kept me quite busy. We just had an open house yesterday and we actually got 24 new volunteers. So that is great. However, this is an in-person program that we do. And when the pandemic hit in 2020, everything stopped. And so I thought, well, I want to continue to volunteer. I want to continue to give back. How can I do that? So I got another email. They must know me for sure somewhere, but I got another email and it said, hey, do you want to do the Friendly Voice program? So I applied for it and I got trained and I was an agent for it. And I did it for a while and then they kind of grabbed me to become an admin for the program. And I've been doing it ever since. So I do certainly enjoy it. Those are the two programs that I volunteer for, and it keeps me busy really 24/7, but it is certainly enjoyable.
Great.
Right. Wow.
I know Friendly Voice keeps her very busy.
Yes, yes. Well, listening to both of you, you all definitely have the background for the Friendly Voice program. And so let's transition to Friendly Voice. I know that there are stipulations about Friendly Voice. If I were speaking to a volunteer and they asked me, how do I become a part of that initiative? What is it, Friendly Voice? What do you do? Is there an overview that you can send them, a specific elevator speech that you can give them? Tell us more. Tell us as much as you want to about the Friendly Voice program.
Okay, Dorie, you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a phone number that they can call. If you'd like me to give you the number, I can say the number, which is 1-888-281-0145. And they call in and we have a program called Zendesk and they leave a message that they're interested in becoming a volunteer.
Dorie, can you repeat that number?
Sure. 1-888-281-0145. And they indicate that they want to become a volunteer. And then we have one of our admins, Kathy, what she does is she'll go through the calls, she'll listen to the messages, and then she will say, okay, these certain people are interested in volunteering. And then I'm going to turn it over to Nena because she'll talk about the pre-vetting because I don't do that part of it, but she continues from there.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I was actually going to save that part for a little bit later when you add some questions, Lillian and Whit. But I did, and thank you very much, Dorie. I did want to add just a little bit. That number that Dorie gave, that is the same number that we use whether you want to call in to be a volunteer or call in to be a client. Oh. And then, like she said, one of our admins, Kathy, will kind of direct it to the proper category or department so that the next person who's in charge can follow up and process that person's request.
Well, tell us a little bit about the client. You said the client. What is it? What do you mean by client?
Well, those are the people who we make our 10 to 15 minute friendly chit chat conversation.
Mhm.
So, and I was going to bring this up a little bit later too,
Okay,
but
that's okay.
we'll go ahead and address it now. When the pandemic hit, our great inventor, our innovator,
Mhm.
Will Stoner,
Yes.
developed the Friendly Voice program.
Mhm.
And it was because people were, in their homes. And I always say trapped in our homes because,
Mhm.
Mhm.
we couldn't leave
Right.
because of the pandemic and the risk. And so people were isolated and lonely.
Mhm.
And now that the pandemic has passed, or we got it under control
Mhm.
more or a little bit better, we truly have the client who is isolated and lonely. They may not have family. Their spouse may have passed away. And so they're by themselves. And so that client will call, or the person will call and say that they want to have a friendly chit chat. And we have what we call the first chat team, and Dorie manages the first chat team. And basically, we evaluate to make sure that there are certain criteria and requirements that they can do on the client side, like maybe
Mhm.
call back to request another phone call. And then if they're interested in a lighthearted chit chat, because we're not a hotline or a
Mhm.
crisis center.
Mhm.
And we basically provide a 10 to 15 minute chit chat, lighthearted, just about, hi, how's your day going?
Okay.
Okay. And so we also have a Spanish queue. Okay. So
Good.
let me give you that Spanish number as well. And
Okay.
that number is 1-888-497-4108. So whether you're interested in volunteering or being a client of AARP's Friendly Voice, both of those numbers are the same numbers that you call if
Okay.
you're interested in our program.
Okay. Sounds great. If someone asked you to give just a couple of statements to describe AARP Friendly Voice, what would you use? Just a quick statement. If someone in passing said, "What is this about?" What words would you give to them to excite them about the program?
Go ahead, Dorie.
I would say that it's a 10 to 15 minute light chit chat program. And it's just about having that conversation and hopefully making each party happier after they've called.
Very
And
good.
unfortunately, we've had some clients that we're the only call they get.
Oh, okay.
So they say, you've made my day. And I have to tell you, as an agent calling, they certainly made my day.
Sure,
Because
I'm sure,
yeah,
yes.
and we call all 50 states. It's a national
Mhm.
program in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And again, it's not a check-in program. And
Mhm.
so our clients are called by different agents all the time. We tell our agents, give it at least a 2-week period before you call the person back again. And so this way they're getting attached to the program, not to the agent.
Okay. So if you give it 2 weeks and there's a client that wishes to chit chat, are they able, do you say, oh, but it'll be a 2-week process, but if you need to call, feel free to call us
Right,
within
Right.
right.
that
And they
2-week
do.
period? Yeah.
Exactly. So they call, and how we do it is we do it through our Zendesk program. So I just give you a little background on that.
Mhm.
So when the client calls in, we have a queue. We have a
Mhm.
couple queues, but the first one is an ongoing queue. And so our agents, we have an ongoing team, and they take a look. They go into the program and they say, okay, we have these people. They take a look to make sure the time zone is important, because we're calling all over the United States,
Yes.
and the
Mhm.
days and the times, preferred times. And then they will call. And then what happens after that, they finish their call, they take notes so that the next agent can take a look to see what the conversation was about. And then they set the client up for the next call for the next week. So they're on a rotation. And
Okay.
sometimes we don't get them. So then we will put them in a pending queue for them to
Mhm.
give us a call back if we can leave a message. So there are many
Good.
teams. We have a past due team too.
Mhm.
So we never leave them hanging. We're always getting to them, which
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
And also, Lillian, if I may add to Dorie's information, from a volunteer's perspective, we ask that the volunteer contributes at least 3 hours per week of their
Okay.
time.
Okay.
And so you asked me earlier from the volunteer's perspective, when they call in,
Mhm.
of course, Kathy routes them and then routes them to one of our admins named Margot. And
Mhm.
Margot will pre-vet them and make sure that they have all the equipment that is needed. Some people think that you pick up we use our telephones to
Right.
make the phone calls, but we
Right.
don't.
Okay.
We use a computer. We ask that you have access to the internet. We prefer the Google Chrome browser.
Okay.
And then you have to have a speed of at least 25 megabytes per second in
Mhm.
order for it to work, the software to work properly. Otherwise, it might freeze up on you.
Right.
And so we'll ask the volunteer to test their computer by going to fast.com, and it will measure the speed of your computer. And then after they meet all of those requirements,
Mhm.
then I will interview them and tell them more about the training process. And we usually have our trainings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, not every week, but whenever we have volunteer intake. We
Mhm.
usually have our training classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Mhm.
So that's just a little bit about how the vetting process goes. And so I teach the Zendesk software part of it.
Mhm.
Okay, there are two parts, the software part with the computer, and then Dorie teaches the nurturing part of it. Okay, and that's basically, how do you speak to the client and how do you pivot and things like
Mhm.
that. Mhm.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Pitt.
When
Okay.
it comes down to isolation versus loneliness, how is that handled with the client?
That's very interesting. I heard something on the television just the other day, and the person said, I am surrounded by people and I'm still lonely.
Mhm.
Okay. So, my view is when you're isolated, you're by yourself, you're living by yourself, family, no friends. Um, I live in the deep South, so we're called the Bible Belt. Maybe no transportation to go to church or not a member of church. Whatever the situation is, I consider isolation just being by yourself.
Mhm.
But sometimes when people are sad or depressed, they can be surrounded by people, even loved ones, and still be lonely. They're not getting some type of fulfillment or need that
Mhm.
they need to just enjoy life or interaction or connection with others to really enjoy their lives. So that's my definition.
Very good. Very good. It sounds as if part of your program covers that with the section that Dorie covers. Yes.
Yes, and the funny part, and Dorie can relate to this too, sometimes when we call, we have a script that
Mhm.
reminds the client that our calls are being recorded.
Mhm.
And so sometimes they'll say, hello, AARP. I know your call is being recorded before we can even
Cute.
get it out because they're ready for that conversation.
Mhm.
They're
Okay.
ready for that interaction.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
So, before we bring this to a close, I think it's safe to say that friendly voice may be a part of a go-to for the client where they're not feeling alone and you guys are connecting people to people.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And one other thought that I had before we bring it to a close is the outcomes. I don't know if you all have had an opportunity to look at your outcomes, to find out from your clients how successful the program has been or is now, because it's ongoing. Any feedback on the success of the program, things you would do differently or things you want to enhance? Any feedback on that particular area, in that particular area?
Dorie, I know you have some stats for
Sure.
them.
Well, we feel that our program is very successful because since January of 2023, we've had over 3,300 plus conversations and 48,000 since the program started in March of 2020. So those are quite impressive. We very often hear comments from our clients that they enjoy our calls. They look forward to our calls, and it brightens up their days. But we're also forever evolving. You know, it's not just a set program in itself. We're always enhancing our program. One of our admins, Kim, she actually put together a volunteer agent training guide, and we were so excited. It was printed and mailed out, and it's on a digital version as well to help our volunteers. And also, we keep a constant contact with our agents. You know, we're all computer, right? We're all Zoom, and then we're calling on computer, not Zoom. And so we decided, I guess about a year ago, I think, Nena, that we were going to keep in constant contact. So our first chat team is the one that assesses, but also calls past due clients. I email them Monday through Friday, and I tell them, you know, this is what we're having, this is what's going on. And the other teams on twice a week, I give them, best practices to say, you know, if you have trouble pivoting a call or you have trouble ending a call, you know, this is what we're doing. So we're continually doing that. We hold quarterly meetings on Zoom with all our agents, which is important. And we have weekly leadership team meetings, which we will have tomorrow with our admin. So, and we also have a quarterly newsletter, which is a wonderful thing that we give out to our volunteers. So I think the connection is important on every end, and that's what we strive to do with this program. And I think that's why it's been so successful.
Right. Well, I've heard great things about it, and that's why I wanted to make certain that you all came on the Roost News so that our audience, which are staff and volunteers, can hear more about the program. And if they want to, you know, become a part of the program, this is a great opportunity for them to listen and connect with you. So that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we are virtual, so we're constantly looking for ways to connect and to improve our program. And our team, especially, well, our volunteers and our leadership team are very caring, very competent, very patient, and a lot of fun. You know, you kind of have to have a special personality to just be able to strike up a conversation with people who you don't even know and you've never met, and who are from different walks of life and live in a state or somewhere where you may not know anything about. So our volunteers are very, very good at what they do. And so I would, if it's okay with you and Whit, I would like to kind of give a shout out to our team.
Please do. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, volunteers, for a friendly voice, for all that you all do. And a special shout out to our leadership team. And I wrote their names down so I wouldn't forget anybody.
Okay.
And so we have Kathy Katzenberg, Kim McCowan, Felicia Clack, Dagmar Bones, who handles our Spanish queue, Monica and Don Bergman, who handled our chatter group, and Dorie's going to mention our chatter group in just a moment. And the baby of the bunch, Margot Curtis. But I also want to recognize the people who laid the foundation for Friendly Voice, because they're pretty much an integral part, even though they're not volunteering with us now. They laid the foundation, and we are benefiting really from all of the brilliancy that that they, you know, set up. And so that's Lori Onofrio Carrier. Did I say her name right, Dorie?
You did.
All right, yes. And of course, Dorie began with the team. She's one of the veteran volunteers from the very, very beginning. And Opal Elliott, who just retired, and the late Kate Gunn. We miss her a lot. And then I'd be remiss, of course, and I know I've already mentioned him, but Will Stoner was the inventor of Friendly Voice, and it was just a brilliant, brilliant idea. So thank you so much.
Yes, certainly. Dorie, are you going to talk about your chatter group?
Yeah, so our volunteers, which we call our agents, can go on Chatter. They can post. I know Nena and I, and we've had previous admins that we post. Nena and I know post each week. I do best practices. Nena does a lot of fun, good stuff, and accolades and so forth. But it's another way of connecting, which we feel is important. And I know we've got to get some more of our admins on that Chatter group. So getting to post, but it is a nice way to keep in touch with everyone.
Right. Yeah, and that chatter group is through the AARP portal. In case some are wondering, how can I get to that chatter group? Well, just reach out to the Friendly Voice staff, volunteers, and I'm sure that they can help you get onto the chatter group. It's very beneficial. I try to go on and read a lot of the information from time to time. It's inspiring too, to hear about what's going on with Friendly Voice. So Whit, anything else that you would like to bring up with the group or ask?
Well, I just want everybody to know, and Nena and Dorie can give their feedback, but I think we all can surmise that Friendly Voices is a group of volunteers that are just a phone call away.
Very good.
And look forward to hearing from people to connect them to someone who cares.
Well, if I could, Lillian, I would like to leave you with a quote that one of our volunteers submitted about a year or so ago.
Okay, great.
I think that was Jim Dorie, and he quoted Walt Whitman. And the quote says, "The gift is to the giver, and it comes back the most." And so that's one of the things with Friendly Voice. Like I mentioned earlier, we just meet people from all walks of life. And the conversation starts off by us trying to give to them. But like Dorie just said, we get so much in return as well. So we thank you all for having us. It has been our pleasure. And Friendly Voice is just a joy to watch.
And we feel that with you and Dorie's comments. Yes, we can tell that you enjoy what you're doing. The other volunteers enjoy what they're doing, and that laughter, the sense of laughter and patience. I think those are the two things that stand out in my mind, laughter and patience, because you need both of those when you're dealing with individuals you're meeting for the first time. So we're going to ask one more time, just in case something else has come to your mind. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Friendly Voice?
Dorie?
I think it's a great program. I've been with it since its inception, and I'm going to be continuing with it. And I think that if anyone is interested in becoming a volunteer, it's a great program, one of the great programs of AARP. So come and join us.
Great. Well, again, thank you, Nena, and thank you, Dorie. Whit and I have enjoyed conversing with you today. We look forward to hearing more about Friendly Voice in the future. And we will want you, or you will probably want to, and we will give you that information at a later time, share with your Friendly Voice volunteers and any staff member the podcast, so they can go on the Roost News YouTube podcast and listen to an audio version, as well as, of course, see you in person, see your beautiful faces here today as you communicate your love. I mean, it's true love for Friendly Voice. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Do you want me to give that number one more time?
Yes, do so. That'll be great.
Okay, because a lot of times when you look for things and it's in the middle of the recording, oh, where is it? So I'll just end.
Yeah, go again. Do it again.
Okay, again, that number is 1-888-281-0145. Use the same number to volunteer Or if you know someone who would like to be a client and needs a friendly voice, you use the same number. And that Spanish number is 1-888-497-4108. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And what I will do, I have to put a description of the podcast, and that will be in that description. I will add those numbers to your description, which will sort of push the force of making sure that people have those two important numbers for Friendly Voice. So again, thank you all so very much. And we're going to say goodbye. And this has been the Roots News, the place for all things volunteer. Have a good evening or
Thank
morning.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Depending on when
Thank
you
you.
listen.